Hi, Karen. You messaged me about a question that you had about intake forms. And when I responded to you, you said, would you be able to do a video about this because you loved my videos? So thank you. Yes, I'll do a video for you about intake forms. And I say intake because that's not the word I use. I don't like the word intake. I find it very social workery, psychologist-y, agency, hospital, medical model, all those kind of things. So I prefer to call it an initial session or a getting to know you session or why you here session, anything but intake basically. So I just call it my initial session form. And so I have one here that I'm going to just take you through the very basic things. So first of all, I have the 10-minute phone conversation with people. And that's when I'm sussing out, am I the right therapist for this person in terms of, have I got the experience to work with this person? So you will be looking out for things like, in terms of this, again, in inverted commas, psychopathology. Can I work, if this person's got severe trauma, for example, can I work with this depth of trauma? Developmental attachment, complex trauma. Can I work with the repression, splitting, denial, all that kind of stuff, healing the split off parts? Or do they need a higher level of care? And then once someone gets to a session with me, I know pretty much that I can absolutely work with them. It's all about, can they work with me? And do they want to work with me? And am I the right therapist for them? So the first thing I say to them is the reason you're here today is for you to see whether I am the right therapist for you, not the other way around. So I alleviate their anxiety around what if this therapist doesn't like me, or what if she doesn't want to work with me, or things like that. So you are instantly telling them this is a place for you to make sure that you are getting the best therapist for you. And I just think this is so important that they know that they have a choice, that they don't have to say yes at the end of it. So I start with that, and then I take some very basic information. I haven't sent this in advance. What I send in the email in advance is, what do I send? The appointment time. Please wait in your car until your exact time because I work from a home office. I don't like waiting rooms anyway. I always hated I had one therapist who had a waiting room and I hated it because I'd always see other people in there and it just felt creepy. I just didn't like it. So I always say to people, wait in your car. It gives you privacy and it also gives the clients either side privacy. And I also say to them, in terms of my cancellation policy. So I've got a 48-hour cancellation policy. By accepting this appointment time, you are acknowledging that that this is my policy. And let's speak on the phone so I can get you credit card details to book you in. That's all I send on that first email. I don't send any paperwork at all, because I like to see what's going on for the client when I ask the questions that I ask. So it might even be around someone's, got an email address that doesn't have their surname, for example. Some people have huge reactions to their surname, So what I ask on those very basic questions when they first get there is their date of birth, their address, their phone number. Again, even though I've probably got it on the phone, it's nice to have it on the form. I get them to repeat their email address, even though I've got it on email. Their doctor's details, a medical and psychiatric history. So I might just say something like, is there any medical issues in your family or psychiatric concerns in your family that you want to share or that you think are important? Any medication that they're on, and just their general health. And so already, because I work with women with eating disorders, general health, I'm thinking, people might say, I'm really healthy. I'm eating a paleo diet. There's a red flag for me in that. So, but also in the things like the medical and psychiatric history, that can stir up so much shame for people. So why would I send that through on a form where they're left to be with that on their own, rather than using that as a connection point in the therapy. So yeah, I don't like sending forms in advance, and it's not a time waste. I see people write on Facebook pages that it's wasting time doing these. Everything in those questions is a way to connect with the client and is really important information for the therapy. I think one of my trainers said to me, everything in that first session is everything you need to know. I'm not sure that's 100% true, but certainly when I look back, I think, oh, wow, I missed that. I forgot about that from that first session. So anyway, so that's that. Then I move on. Oh, and I also ask them what they do for work. I'm listening. Can this person afford therapy? Maybe when I was charging less way back, you're still always asking that, because you want to be building a practice that is sustainable. So you don't want to be having a high turnover of clients either. I just find, especially if you're moving more towards psychotherapy, you'll learn all this in your psychotherapy training. Short-term counselling, I think, is probably going to be hard work in terms of you're always having to turn over. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, totally fine. But for me, I knew with my niche that I was choosing people who could afford to come weekly, long-term psychotherapy, unless, of course, an emergency happened like COVID or something like that. So you're looking for things like that as well in the first session. So obviously having finding out what they do for work is important. I also ask, how did you find me? And that is going to tell you a lot, but more importantly, what was it about my website or my Psychology Today profile that made you want to reach out? That is so important for the whole work. Most often, and it's probably going to be the same for you, Karen, because of your lived experience, people say, I saw what you wrote on your website and I just knew that you knew what I was going through. And so there's a connection there, or they've already started to bond with you back at your website or your Psychology Today profile. So the attachment relationship has already started. And actually, this is kind of like adoption, why they tell people people going through infertility, they tell you you've got to stop all infertility treatment to start foster care or adoption. People get so cross about it because they think, well, what if I want to keep trying? And the reason being is we start to bond. The minute you stop trying for IVF, you're available to bond with that foster or adopted baby. It's the same with clients. The minute they come to that website, they are starting to bond with you. So yes, what was it about? Then, okay, so then the rest, sorry, just knocked something over on my shelf there. I'll put that one down. So the next thing that I ask, I move on to psychosynthesis. So we have a very specific way of doing things, and everything about the first session really is about determining the emerging purpose and the call of the self through the symptom. So we're not there to fix their symptoms or get rid of their symptoms. I'm here listening to what is this symptom calling for me to, calling for the client to awaken to, and calling for me to show the client. So, okay, so we have what we call the golden questions. So we ask, what is the problem? And spend some time around that. What's the concern? What brings you here? The next one we ask is, why is it a problem and why now? Okay, so you're determining how this is impacting the person's life and why come now? Why not ring me a year ago? Why not 5 years ago? Why not wait until next year? And you're really going to get a sense of how pressing this issue is for them and what's happening in their life because of it. Then I ask, what would it be like this time next year or in 2 years if you still have this problem? And that's where you're going to see people, oh my God, I would just be so depressed. I can't keep living like this. I'm exhausted. All those sort of things will come out around that question. And that gives you a lot of opportunity for mirroring, affirming, building relationship, all that kind of stuff. So you're connecting with the client again. And then what would it be like this time next year or in a couple of years if without this problem? You know, what would life be like then? This is really important because then you're really looking at the context for the work. You know, what am I going to hold for this person until they are able to step into that themselves? Yeah, what am I going to hold as this bigger picture? And I know one client said to me recently, she said, I didn't realize it at the time, but you were always holding a better version of my life for me. And it really, she said, oh, I thought you were so, I don't know, just like not controlling, but she said, I couldn't understand why you did the things that you did sometimes, why I could only come weekly, why I had to pay for Cancellation, all this sort of stuff. And then I realized everything was about this bigger version of myself in my life, and you always held that for me no matter what. And that is really, really important, like for that hope. That sense of hope. So then I might even ask then as well, like, and what about in 5 years' time? What would you like to see for yourself? You know, and then people start talking about long-term sort of goals. I don't then work like, oh yeah, we're going to work towards this goal. It's too prescriptive for me. I'm more of an unfolding self kind of person, therapist. This is the really important question, and we call it the super golden question. And it is, what makes your heart sing? And that is really the soul self. Like, why is this person really here? Why is this person really here? And, you know, for me, when my therapist asked me that, it was around, she said, what makes your heart sing? And I said, swimming with wild dolphins. And then we, of course, started to look at what that was really about. And the spiritual qualities that get evoked in that question. And I'm not necessarily, in fact, I don't say to people, oh, let's look at the spiritual qualities around that. That's all a bit woo-woo for clients. What I am doing is holding those qualities always. So that, and if whatever comes out of it is connection, empathy, compassion, whatever, I'm thinking that's what this client needs from me. Okay, so they're talking about a lack of love. My job is to love this client to bits. So you're finding out through these questions exactly what it is that you need to give this particular client around this particular issue. And then, of course, what was I going to say next? Yeah, I mean, for people coming back to that, what makes your heart sing? You know, it could be standing on the top of a mountain. It could be snowboarding. It could be, like me, swimming with dolphins. It could be connecting with nature. It could be, you know, if you're First Nations, it might be around your spiritual land and home. It could be any of those sort of things like that. So you're looking out for that. Then for the last, I forgot to say, my initial sessions are for 90 minutes. So that last 30 minutes, I am starting to move then towards how therapy works. I take it very, very seriously, setting up the frame. There is no wishy-washy. There is no backing down on any kind of frame decisions. It's very clear. So just to let you know, this is how we're going to work together. And you need to decide if this is right for you or not. Okay, so we're going to see each other weekly, 10:10 on a Monday. This spot is always yours. I go through the holiday allowance. I go through sick, how to contact me, confidentiality, informed consent, all that kind of stuff. And I check in with them. How are you doing with all this? How does this sound for you? And then at the end, I say to them, okay, how are we doing? Do you think, you know, I start by saying, you know, I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for telling me about your story. I would really love to work with you. And this is about you deciding about whether you want to work with me. So we can do one of two things. You can come back next week if you think we're a good match, or let me know by Wednesday. So I do all of my initial sessions on a Saturday afternoon after my other regular clients, and then I give them to Wednesday to decide before I move on to the next person, send an email through and whatever else. I think giving it a time like that is good. look, you know, if you've got lots of spaces, you don't have to do that, but I still think, you know, doing that. If I haven't heard from them on Wednesday, I'll just shoot them through an email and say, look, I didn't hear back from you. Thank you so much for coming along. I wish you all the best on your journey. If you don't, you know, obviously if I'm not the right therapist for you and you'd like a recommendation, let me know. I probably haven't had to do that for quite some time, but you might want to do something like that. And then stop there. Don't harass them or email them again if that's the case. Yeah, I think that's it. And then off we go. Oh, and I schedule for 6 sessions. We do 6 sessions to start off with. I don't book out that spot to someone else after those 6 sessions. I'm assuming that person is going to go to long-term therapy. And so then and then I say to them on the 6th session, so we'll do 6 sessions together. And then on the 6th session, we will have a review. And that's where you really, you will know by then whether we're, you know, a really good match for each other. And that's your decision to make. I don't make that decision. I know already that this person has not got some psychological disorder that I can't work with through the telephone conversation and the initial interview. And less experienced therapists, maybe that might become clearer later on. I don't know, but it's not something I've ever really had to worry about. The other thing I then do for that next 6 weeks, I'm information gathering, but in a therapeutic way. So I'm saying, okay, you've come about your relationship. How about thinking about your relationship history for next week? And we'll look some more at that. And you can be as creative as you like. You can do a timeline. You can do a collage. You can just come and talk about it. There's no pressure to be any more creative than you are. You know, really sort of being open like that with people. Same thing with family history. You can bring a family tree, or you can bring some photos if you like. However you want to do that is up to you. But I'm setting the scene that you can be as creative as you like here. Okay? I think that's it. All right. I hope that's useful, Karen. Bye.